It's so weird because um, I'm a technoholic. I love technology, and I started getting into it. How old are you?
35. I almost had a brain fart there. I almost said 34. I just turned 35.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got out of the military before you were born. So I got it. What year were you born?
89.
89. I got out of the military in 1971 or 72. Do you carry your DD 214?
I don't carry it with me. They say you should have it on you at all times. I typically don't. I would lose it if I did that. And getting a DD 214 is like a nightmare. So
Is it
I keep it,
really?
yeah, I keep it stored away.
My I carry paper DD 214 with me. And I'll tell you a great story. So years ago, I went out and bought cell phones for my family. And I went to an AT&T store
Hmm.
and and um and so I buy the phone and I'm walking out now, okay? And I said, "By the way, do you happen to give veteran discounts?" Never asked that before, right? They said, "Yeah. My phone bill went from something like 450 a month to 250 a month."
Wow.
So from that stamp day forward, I carry my DD 214 in my wallet, right?
Yeah.
And during holidays, I'll ask people if they give veteran discounts. I get free meals on Veterans Day.
Hmm.
They never did that before.
No, yeah, they I no, I wouldn't say recently, but it's been I guess yeah, like in hindsight, like it's more of like a recent thing that they've been doing. I would say ever since 9/11 happened, like post 9/11, like it's been a lot of places do military I don't know if you're like if you go shopping or anything a lot, you're like a lot of outlet places do it, like different retail stores and stuff. Um, actually, if you ever get a chance, do you have a GovX login like govx.com?
Oh, somewhere, God.
Okay. So GovX is like a really good website to where they have like everything is like constantly on sale for veterans. So and it's typically more like military based like marketplace, so like Yeti cups, Oakley
Yep, yep,
sunglasses,
yep, yep, yep.
Columbia, and they have a lot of like cruise stuff on there too, and like sporting events and stuff. Me and my fiance actually got a weekend cruise. It was short, but it was still nice. But it was a free weekend cruise to the Bahamas and back. So, uh,
Nice.
yeah, it was pretty cool. It was cool. I mean, and free. I mean, like the ticket itself was, but it wasn't anything like all inclusive. So that's kind of how they
Right,
get you.
right,
But
right, right.
for what we paid, it was decent.
And I can't tell you, let's see how many, I don't know how many homes I've owned. I've never taken advantage of the VA
Home loan?
home loans.
You're
Never,
kidding me.
never,
Oh, you
never.
have to.
I
You
know.
have to,
It's
man.
crazy.
Wait a minute. It may be because of the prices of the homes you're buying, Bob, because VA has a certain limit, and you may be exceeding it because you're out in California.
That's probably true. I've never even checked. Never even checked.
Well, my guess is your realtor would have said something to you uh, if it worked. I will bet you that because they think that way when they hear a veteran. Because
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, realtors are in a world of their own,
Hmm.
and
No,
either
I
they get it or they don't get it.
well, even realtors, even your mortgage person would have done it.
Yeah,
I'm
should
almost I'm almost certain that it was the VA level. I used to do mortgages. The VA
yeah,
level may not have reached for California to do no money down. So it may not have.
right,
And if it's not going to be no money down, it's not worth taking advantage of, per se.
right, right. I get it. I get it. So, Sam, what did you do in the service
Security forces
for
for the Air Force,
Air Force?
U.S. Air Force. Yeah, yes, sir.
And how long did you serve?
4 years. I just did a little 4 year enlistment.
Gotcha. So I was in during Vietnam.
My hat goes off to you.
Yeah, but I went in the Navy. So what happened was this is an interesting story. Um, I did my boot camp down in San Diego, and then they shipped me up to Treasure Island in San Francisco.
Nice.
And most people they would go through transit in 2 to 3 weeks, right?
Hmm.
I'm there 90 days, not getting orders, not getting orders, not getting orders. All of a sudden, I get my orders and I get detached from the US Navy and assigned to NATO.
Ooh,
So I worked and I spent my entire active time in Norfolk, Virginia. And I worked for a guy named Alexander Haig, who was Secretary of State. He ran a base called SACLAN, Supreme Allied Commander of the Atlantic. And this is the other part that's interesting. On my 21st birthday, I was in a top secret building, no windows.
right. I can only imagine if you're out there in Norfolk working with
Yeah,
NATO.
yeah. So on my 21st birthday, there was a full solar eclipse of the sun. And there was March 7th. Then the last one they had was just this last year. And they hadn't had a full solar eclipse since my birthday, which was, let's see, that had to be 1970. I'm
Nice.
71, something like that. So, you get all life is made up of these oddities, right?
Hmm.
And some of them you have some really good stuff. What are you doing now?
So I work as just a veteran liaison here at a mental health and substance abuse facility.
Gotcha. I think I told you my daughter has a doctorate in psychology and she worked for the VA for one or
Yes,
two
sir.
years. And she said it was the hardest job she ever had
Yeah,
because you know why?
of course. Yeah. I mean,
Suicide.
very demanding, a lot of pressure. The turn and burn at the VA is crazy. Yeah, I respect her for being there for as long as she did. It's a
Yeah.
tough position to
Yeah.
be in.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
tough to
and
do.
most people don't know how many suicides are committed on a daily basis of veterans.
Right.
It's
Yeah, no,
it's just,
absolutely.
nobody ever pays attention to it.
Absolutely. It's gaining some notoriety now, but like I always revert back to your generation of veterans, like I consider us extremely lucky because at least, now with the internet and things, like all it takes is one person to post something and it kind of goes out in real time. Whereas like back then for you guys, I mean, you guys came back stateside, no love, no,
Oh,
you
we
know,
were hated.
yeah, nobody, you guys weren't received with open arms.
Yeah,
And,
well, you know,
um,
so funny you're saying that because I used to say everybody said dogs and sailors keep off the grass.
I mean, it's a completely different world now. And it just, it's sad to see a lot of individuals from your era just now coming out and reaching help after such a long, I mean, we're talking decades of them just repressing their feelings and emotions and mental
You
health and
bet.
everything. And their
You bet.
solution to life has been, self-medicating, or their whole perception on life is,
Yeah.
well, nobody cared about me then. Why should they care about me now? Type
Well,
deal.
and that's what my daughter was saying is that the hardest part was it was the older guys that were becoming suicidal because what happened was they went in, you know, they uh they go into retirement and then all the bad thoughts come back up to the surface and that's when they become suicidal.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's crazy out there.
I
Olga,
believe.
talk to us.
Hello,
Hi there.
how are you?
Good. How are you? You've been to
Good.
the meeting before, haven't you?
Uh-huh.
Several times, of course. Come on, there aren't that many people that show up, so you should remember.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, there you are.
Oh, wait. Unless you're getting old, I don't know,
Well, I am getting old, so
older since the last time I saw you, which was, I think it might have been a couple of weeks ago.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Dennis is at he's in San Diego. He's on
Okay,
Midway, the carrier,
I thought,
yes.
and
I,
he's doing some kind of presentation there. So I don't remember.
I thought that was next week.
Is that next week?
Yeah, it is. He's in Seattle today. He's in Seattle this time,
Oh,
traveling
okay.
through. It's next week's the presentation because I'm hoping you can do it through Zoom to get more public views of the whole event. We talked about that last week.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, all we need is somebody with a camera that can record it.
Right. I spoke to him about that last week at the meeting with you there.
Right, right. So,
That was my suggestion.
be very interesting to see. It's how many I've mentioned this several times. You know how many veterans there are? 16,
Bucket full.
yep, 16 million veterans.
That's too many.
I gotta tell you, I'll be watching in a few weeks, it's a couple weeks, the Democratic convention on TV. And I saw the Republican one. It's someone who's 98 years old, who's a World War II veteran speak. And I gotta tell you, it's
Wow.
so charming to watch him speak. Um, and so forth. It really was charming. He reminded that how fortunate he was to have survived. I forgot the Battle of the Bulge.
Yeah. It's interesting. My dad, um, he spent most of his time in the south of England. I think it's called Southampton. And he trained guys for the Normandy invasion, glider pilots.
Uh-huh.
He trained them, and what happened is his troop landed behind enemy lines, and when they stood up to get out of the glider, the Germans picked him off. He lost 80% of his troop the first day.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. So, I could never ever get my dad to talk about his time in the service. Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. So it's always interesting how he didn't, technically fight, but he was, very heavily involved in the Normandy invasion. So just how we weave ourselves through our life. You know, I always say we make it through our lives in spite of ourselves. You know. So and this country, you know, owes a huge amount of gratitude to our veterans. Huge amount. And people don't appreciate it. That's the trouble.
Well,
So
especially when less than 1% of the population serves in the military.
right,
Mhm.
right. Yeah. Interesting times.
Mr. Rodriguez, I sent a message to you. I don't know if you had a chance to see it. So I tried to find you on LinkedIn and I only found one so far, and I don't know if that's you or not.
There's a number of Olga Rodriguez's. Mine
didn't-
comes up as Dr. Olga Rodriguez.
All right, then I'm gonna go back to it now while we're speaking. Okay.
And you are a doctor?
Yes, I wouldn't put down that credential if I wasn't.
Well, some people do. I'm glad to know you didn't.
What kind of doctor?
I'm a nurse doctor.
Oh, so okay.
Oh, but okay, so just that. Oh, so no, I am not
No,
a
no, 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 I
physician.
didn't, no, no, no.
Not all
No, 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 no.
physicians are
No, no, I
doctors.
know, no, no, I worked in an oncology office, so I know what nurse practitioners are and the doctor of nursing. So no, I didn't mean that in a pejorative way. I apologize if it sounded that. No, I have the utmost respect. I spent 3 years working in a medical office. You know,
So also, not all NPs are doctors. A doctorate degree, whether it's in therapy, OT, respiratory therapy, education, and nursing, does not necessarily for nursing. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are an NP. It means that I have an advanced degree, a terminal degree in nursing. And yes, I am a clinician. It's not just a title.
You know,
Are you wait? Are you under Dr. Olga Rodriguez or under Olga Rodriguez?
Dr. Olga Rodriguez.
Okay, that's maybe why I'm not seeing it. So it's
It says
let's see.
DNP, comma, MSN, comma, RN, comma,
Wait. You
CPHQ.
say wait. Slow down. I'm sorry. You said what did you say? DMP? No.
Right. Yes.
D,
So
D-
it is. So the whole name is Dr. Olga C. Rodriguez, comma, Delta, November, Papa, comma, Mike, November, Sierra, Mike, Sierra, MSN, November, the RN, Romeo, November, comma, and the last one is Charlie, Papa, Quebec, and hotel.
Well, I have
CPHQ.
Dr. Olga Rodriguez, DMP, MSN, RN, CPHQ.
HQ. Correct. That's me.
Okay. All right, fine. Because as you can tell,
How long-
I've been trying to follow you unsuccessfully. I've been trying to connect with you unsuccessfully. So I'm sending it right now.
Olga, how long did you spend in the service?
30 years.
How many?
Yeah,
30.
the one I found, I knew was too young because she served in 1970. She served, was this, I forgot the year she served. I figured it wasn't you.
Okay.
Thank you. I just sent it out.
Okay.
And what branch were you in?
I would normally give like a smart ass answer, but I'll be nice. It would be the army.
Okay.
I was gonna
Wait,
say, I
what's
was gonna say there's only one branch, but it was the army. Sorry for those naval people and Air Force and Marines and what else is there? Public health and all that. Yeah,
It's also interesting. You
it
know,
is.
I always say we make it through our lives in spite of ourselves.
You know, your comments today are borderline philosophical, but if you don't mind being transparent and and being me, and a little
Yeah.
bit, I wouldn't say negative, but a little bit down.
Well, you know,
Are you feeling down today?
oh no, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
I'm
No.
just saying that's how I'm translating And we're, you know, I'm a veteran, and I agree with some of the comments that you've have been mentioned, about, you know, people, our fellow veterans, those from World War II, and you know, think about, even though we don't have, if any of them are still around, World War One, but even those undeclared encounters, or what do you call them, undeclared missions. They were not wars, but there were missions that actually looked like, felt like being in a combat, definitely in a hostile environment, but they were not declared wars, like Iraq and all that.
Yeah,
Well, I
right.
can even my dad was in Korea. It was not in Korea, but served during the Korean War, which is the same type of
Right.
similar
Right.
designation.
Well,
Yeah.
guess what? Tomorrow is going to be different than today. I hope so.
If unless what was the name of that movie where you keep reliving? Oh, um, oh my God, what was this with
Groundhog
Murray?
Day. Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day, yeah.
Oh,
And that's
God.
what it felt. That's what it felt like when I was in the military after a while.
Groundhog's Day.
Very
Yeah.
predictably, you did, you know, you could almost like, you know, time it. Oops, I gotta go to the bathroom. Oops, I gotta eat. Oops, I gotta go to work. Oops, we're getting hit. Dog, you know, yeah.
Yeah. And where did you serve?
Where did I serve? I was honored to go all the way from Syracuse, New York, then San Antonio to do officers basic, and then I went to the very famous infantry training post called Fort. Used to be called Fort Jackson, South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina.
Right.
Then I went to Korea. Volunteers, they raised my hand, get me out of here.
Yeah.
Went to Korea for a year, came back to Walter Reed. From Walter Reed, I went to Fort Benning. From Fort Benning, I went to, but then I did some interesting things in between. But those were my bases. I went to Germany for 3 years, came back from Germany, went to Hawaii. I got stuck in Hawaii for 4 years.
Oh, you have my sympathy.
Went to the reserves. Then I went to San Antonio, Texas, for Sam Houston, where I retired with a combat support hospital.
You know, my father used to tell me that he was on a troop ship heading to Hawaii when Pearl Harbor was attacked.
Oh,
So it was before the attack. So he was already there. And just some of the stories and but you know, when he got out of the service, we I'm out of California, and we used to go to Hawaii every year. We went to Maui. Maui was our favorite. I think we went with our kids who were really, really young then. We went something like 10 or 11 years in a row to Hawaii. And it was great. Fantastic. Have you ever been to Hawaii? Oh, you did serve in
9
Hawaii.
years. I was there for 4 years, and I got out of active duty, went to the reserves, and I stayed there. And finally, so I was gone from the States for about 13 years, mostly
Oh,
with the
wow.
military. And then I came back to the mainland, to San Antonio, to Fort Sam Houston. And that was my last assignment. And that's with my combat support unit. We went to Iraq twice.
Gotcha.
Then I said, Avita saying, thank you for the experiences.
Yeah.
Thank you for the memories.
Get
And
me Sam, do you have family members that were in the service?
I do. So my sister is a Marine. My brother-in-law is a Marine. So me and my sister are first generation born here in the States. So, my family is from Iran. And I mean, all the men over there have to serve a mandatory 2 years. So, you know, my father did, all the men on my side served their 2 years, but yeah, I mean, if you, I guess, yeah, I come from a long line of military served, I guess.
Oh, Olga, how about you? Do you have
Uh,
family
no,
members?
no, I was the first one. My stepdad served in the CC camps during World War II. He didn't, it was, it was a very unique program, which I wish, they had that back. At any event, no, I'm the first one that raised, took the oath and off she went. Yeah.
O'Shea, how about you?
Me, no, I mentioned my dad served. My uncle, who I was named after, served during World War II and died, his plane crushed. So that's as far as I know, because my grandparents came to America, one side from Russia and the other side from Austria.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. It's always
Oh,
our,
no, one pair, I think they were from Ukraine, which was at the time controlled by Russia. The other set of grandparents were from Austria,
so what generation are you in the United States?
second generation.
Okay, I'm fifth generation in the United States.
Yeah, I think your family came around 1860 to the United States, if I
Yeah,
recall.
1840 to 50. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah. So no, you don't have to excuse yourself.
So where did your family come from, Bob?
My dad's side of the family came from Germany,
Mm-hmm.
and they came to America and they settled. They came through Baltimore, not Ellis Island, and then they settled in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Interesting.
Then they came around the Horn on a sailing ship and settled in Sacramento. So I have a pocket watch that was mined out of Sutter's Fort. You're familiar with Sutter's Fort? Gold rush.
Okay.
It was a big California gold rush in around 1840 to 1850. And so my great grandfather had a pocket watch made for him, 24 karat gold. And the engraving on the watch says, the gold in this watch was mined by Grandpa Grabenheim in the 50s. In other words, 1850s,
Mm-hmm.
in Sacramento. So 50 years ago, I took that watch in. The Moshe has heard this countless number of times. I took that pocket watch in to be appraised. I thought, maybe it's worth $3,000, $4,000, something like that. They appraised it 50 years ago at $30,000. Now, can you imagine what that watch is worth? $300,000 to $400,000. So, and then the other part of the discussion is, how could you ever get rid of a family heirloom like that? Because it has such huge value, family value, not financial value, just family value. So we keep it in a at the bank, and I have a photo of that pocket watch in my phone, and I show that to people. So it's always about your heritage, right? The longer you're on this earth and your family and stuff, you begin to see value. We actually have China in the Smithsonian Institute, but it's
Is
because
that right?
of the longevity of our families. So, and that I think people undervalue that kind of stuff. that there's a huge amount of emotional value in old stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, by the way, my whole family is medical except for me.
They're not
My
medical, they're in healthcare. That's
yeah,
the
my
proper term.
okay. My
Sorry, I'm sensitive about that because I don't do medical. I do nursing. I do healthcare.
yeah, my son's going to be working on his nurse practitioner.
That's
My
nice.
my daughter's got a doctorate in psychology, and my wife's a patient advocate. She's better at prescribing than doctors are. She's just been in the field so long, people turn to her and trust her. So
Okay.
tells you something. And in 2008, I was only given a 5% chance of living from a staph infection. And the doctor told me, he says, after 3 days of misdiagnosis, on a Saturday, he comes into my room and he says, Bob, I'm going to be very honest with you. As an infectious disease guy, he says, I only give you a 5% chance of living. And he says, you need to prepare yourself and your family. And I didn't believe it. I just didn't believe it. And I've done extensive hypnotherapy. It's funny. I had this discussion yesterday with somebody about the value of hypnotherapy. Any of you tried it?
I've
No?
studied some.
Well, you know, what happens with hypnotherapy is your subconscious bubbles up to your conscious level. And when the guy told me that I was going to die, I was in such extraordinary pain because it attacked my L4 and L5, gobbled it up like Pac-Man.
Hmm.
I like telling the story because it puts things in perspective for people, right? Well, when he told me I was going to die, what I did is I resorted back to my hypnotherapy. And as a result of that, I live because I put the pain out of my mind. And I'm here today. I spent 3 months in a hospital bed in my house. Then I graduated to a walker. And I'm here. This watch, by the way, it's a Seiko watch. It's called a Seiko racing watch.
Uh-huh.
When I was recuperating, I went to my favorite watch place and I saw this watch and said, I've got to have it. I've got to have it. And I was still using a cane when I went to that watch store. And here I am.
So what was so appealing about the watch that helped you get through your
I just like the look of it.
infectious illness?
Yeah, I just like the look of it. It's called a Seiko racing watch. And there's not many of their kind made like this,
Mm-hmm.
have been made. But you know, back then it created value for me. It had
So
meaning.
when you were sick at home, being treated, were you on IV therapy at home?
Yeah, I was getting intravenous
Mm-hmm.
injections and I could only make like a 6-inch step,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because my back was so screwed up. It gobbled it up like Pac-Man.
May I ask you, I mean, you don't have to answer it because, there are other people and you may
I'm an
be
open
sensitive
book.
about
I'm an open book.
that. Did you have a spine infection?
Well, what happened was I had restored an old car with my son
Mm-hmm.
and I cut myself on my left wrist.
Okay.
And after 3 days of misdiagnosis, I've never missed 3 days of work in my entire life. Wednesday, I go into my office, had horrible back pain, and went home. Went to the emergency room. they thought it was muscle spasms, so they gave me some medication and sent me home. I can't remember if that was a Wednesday. Thursday, I spent the entire day at Cedar Sinai Hospital from 8 o'clock in the morning till 7:30 at night. And a training phlebotomist came in and took blood. She missed my vein or artery, whatever it was, and the
Hopefully it
blood,
was just a vein.
yeah, and it went shooting all over the room.
She hit an artery.
She hit an artery. So I ended up having, the next day I had 105 fever, and my wife was out to dinner with a friend, and I went into convulsions.
You were septic. You had septicemia.
Yep. And I called up my wife and I said, Karen, help, I can't stop shaking. 30 minutes later, she calls me back. Said, what's wrong? I said, I can't stop shaking. She says, would you like me to call 911? I said, absolutely. And they took me back, and the rest is history. So
Yeah.
we all go through these experiences. I guess the only thing that I want to impress on people, we all go through experiences that impact our lives, don't we? Good and bad. And you take the bad and you figure out how to get rid of it, and you deal with the good. So we've gotten way off subject here. Let's talk about veterans. What could we do to grow this group? Veterans are still hugely underserved. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, you and I spoke earlier on something that I hope we can do. You're going to get back to me on that.
Yeah.
What is
you're-
that? You want to share?
I have someone I'm become friendly with who's involved with management at the Philadelphia Veterans Hospital.
Okay.
So my idea is see if we can work something up in a relationship with them, because many of the people who are staff are veterans, as well as the patients, of course, who are veterans. So I'm hoping we can do something to set it up so that maybe people who are at the hospital or work at the hospital can come on and be part of the group meeting on Friday. Again, I don't know what Fridays are like for them, because the fact that the weekends are slower, they may be busier on Fridays. So I can't say that's going to work, but maybe for the patients who want to have it somewhere where the patient can be on. But again, he's away right now. His brother just graduated from boot camp, so the graduation's today, so he's there. I think it's in North Carolina. So well, I didn't want to broach it with him. We got together last Sunday. I thought of it when we were together, but we were there for another reason, so I didn't want to broach it, but I broached it with Bob earlier today.
Olga, how do you spend your time?
How I spend my time? That's a loaded question. Let me see. Well, I'm semi-retired. I'm not fully retired from life or work. I'm a healthcare consultant, and recently my time has been consumed by doing expert witness reviews. So healthcare, this is a side note related to what I'm doing presently. Healthcare is in dire straits right now, and until people stop focusing on getting the next credential and focusing on taking care of patients, which is a primary mission for anyone in healthcare, we're not going to go anywhere. The insurance are dictating what we can or cannot do for patients. And patients appears, not everyone, I'm making general statements here, I realize that. Patients as a whole go into denial when they comes to their body starting to fall apart, when they know there's something wrong, but fail to seek help because they don't really want to hear what's going on until it's too late for any well-known treatment to work on them. It's too late. So I've been actually looking at several cases. I coincidentally, all of them have to do with spine surgeries. And it breaks my heart. It just absolutely breaks my heart because in one case, my discipline, nursing, failed the patient horribly to the point that the patient ended up with an infection of his spine. Not only was it the tissue, but the implants and the hardware. So this patient, for the rest of his life, will have to take what they call suppressive antibiotics. And you know, any drugs that you take, especially antibiotics, after a while, your body becomes resistant to it. So they're gonna have to like change it. So
Plus the side effects from it.
exactly. And so that has like been consuming my time. My family has, I'm in Florida right now. I live in Houston, and I split my time between Houston and Florida, but my family lives in Florida, so they're having some issues. My sister, the primary caregiver, is having some issues, so I have to be physically present here. And how I kind of stay relatively somewhat sane. I play tennis at least 5 times a week. I walk my little dog about 3 times a day, every day, even when it rains, because he's a walking machine. And he's this 12-pound walking machine.
Where in Florida is your family, if you don't mind asking?
North of Tampa, in a small town of 75 by Wesley Chapel.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I used to live in Wesley Chapel.
Where? You're lying, Sam. You're lying.
I swear. You know where the Grove is in Wesley Chapel?
There's a bear in the woods, Sam.
Okay, I used to live in the neighborhood right back over there. There's that big church that's back there by the
Yes,
Grove.
it's like Old Pasco Road.
Yeah, I lived
I
right
was-
across in that neighborhood back
When
there.
is actually my nephew's in-laws lived in that area.
Get
When was the
out.
last time you were there?
I go back to Tampa like every 2, 3. So my son lives in Brandon, so I go back to
Right.
Tampa at least every other week to go get him and spend time with him. But sometimes I'll bring him down here to Stewart. Other days I'll stay. So my family, my mother lives in Winter Haven, so
You're in
sometimes
Stewart, Florida?
I live in Stewart right now. Yes, ma'am.
Right.
That's so
Nice.
funny. As soon as you said north of Tampa, I was like, is it Wesley Chapel? And you said Wesley Chapel, and I was like, she knows exactly that area is.
So actually, I live between Wesley Chapel and Dade City.
That's
You know where St. Leo University is?
of course, yeah,
Duh.
of course.
Let me see. Can you see this?
Oh, how cute.
I know he looks like a bushy dog. He's not. He's a real dog with a lot of hair.
I'm a
So,
dogaholic.
Bob,
Huh?
we have 10 minutes left, and I have to run down there and we have a meeting with our clients and stuff. But
So
you
I'm
said,
sorry, Sam. What do you do? I came in late.
no, that's quite all right. So I'm a military and veteran liaison here for a treatment center called Banyan Treatment Center. We're a national organization. My primary focus is to help veterans, active duty military, and first responders who are struggling with mental health and substance abuse, alcoholism, help them find either navigation through the VA. If we're a good fit for them, we'll bring them into our facility. If we're not a good fit, we'll help refer them to, what other community care providers that are out there in the community that can help them.
Is it more focused on addictive behaviors?
It depends on the facility. So we have some facilities
Okay.
that are
Okay.
primary mental health, so our Boca facility is our primary mental health facility, and that addresses more acute mental health issues like schizophrenia, schizoaffective,
Yeah.
all that good stuff. We have some facilities that are primary substance abuse, alcohol abuse, and then we do have facilities that are dual diagnosis.
Okay.
So depending on what it is the individual wants, civilian, first responder, active duty, military will determine what facility they go to. And then obviously, as you stated, like insurance has a big role to play in that as well.
Yeah.
So the good thing with my job is all of our facilities are in network with the VA and Optum. So and even TRICARE, like, you know, nationwide or Tri-West. So you know, that's kind of my main focus. But as we all know, the VA is kind of a pain when it comes to referring their veterans. So one thing that we're able to do though is we're one of the few facilities in the nation that are able to help veterans who are in dire need, and kind of depending on the criteria, if they meet that criteria, we're able to bring them in, treat them, and then we'll bill the VA afterwards. Now, a lot of times the VA still denies that bill. And if that's the case, we'll kind of chalk it up and, hey, at least, you know, we helped out this one individual. But with
Charity,
our
it's called charity care.
Yeah, but
charity,
why
exactly.
would, Sam, but why would they deny the payment of the bill?
Because they do not like spending money out of their budget, and
Prior authorization.
that's the best way to put it. Yeah, prior authorization. So the Mission Act basically states like a veteran can use community care, but it has to be for X, Y, and Z reasons. You know, like either they don't have beds available there, they don't provide the services at the VA, the veteran lives a certain amount of miles away from the
Right.
VA. But even then, the VA tends to want to keep everything in-house, right? So if they have to send an authorization out, whether that be for treatment or seeing, you know, an eye specialist or something out there, or acupuncture, whatever the case may be, it comes out of the VA's budget. And that, you know, takes away from their expenses, them getting newer equipment, salaries, what have you, all that stuff. So there's a lot that plays into it. But the biggest thing that we try and reiterate to the VA is, you know, hey, like we're not trying to take money away from you guys. We're just trying to help you guys out on the back end if you need us. And then we're always referring back to the VA for additional aftercare and what have you.
Mhm.
My job kind of plays I wear multiple different hats here. I also work with our case managers. I run groups over here. So when it comes to helping veterans navigate the VA for whatever it is they need, say they want to increase their service rating or they need housing, we'll get them plugged into HUD-VASH or SSVF. I mean, there's a lot of different roles, and there's a lot of different services and benefits and resources for veterans out there. It's just they don't necessarily know where to go and how to find it. So, and I only know all this from digging for myself, you know, trying to find all these resources for myself. And through time, I started realizing like, oh, there's hundreds of thousands of other veterans out there who don't know about these services. So, you know, let me go out in the community and help educate them. And then another way I do it is while they're here with us, I also help educate them with that as well. So
Do we have your, I'm
Sorry.
sorry.
No,
Can
go
we have
ahead.
your contact info?
sure. Here, I'll throw it in the chat here for you if you want, Miss
Okay.
Dr. Rodriguez. I'll just put
You may
Sam.
call me Olga.
Okay. Even though you disrespected my Air Force, I heard earlier, I don't think I forgot about that one. I'm just kidding.
Sam. Boo-hoo.
Okay, my other saying is if you don't have something to laugh about, you shouldn't even be speaking.
Sam, what's your relationship with Fisher House?
So I mean, I work with some Fisher houses fairly well. It just depends on the Fisher House. A lot of Fisher houses that are allied with the VA are just mainly like recovery homes for veterans, like after surgeries and stuff like that. So we don't. Like I said, it just depends on the VA. Some Fisher houses do help in the sense of like an addition to a domiciliary for veterans who are struggling with mental health, substance abuse, and stuff like that. So I will work with some of them, but typically they don't have the ability to referral or send referrals or receive referrals. They just kind of, the Fisher houses or the staff members that are there just to kind of monitor and make sure, you know, the well-being of the veterans there are okay.
Oh, I got the impression the Fisher House is more like the veterans equivalent of the McDonald House, where they're there
That's
for
what I thought.
for families of, that's not meant negatively, it's just meant that they're there more to help with families of veterans who are going through problems, who may be in a VA hospital or maybe in a VA place center like your own. So I didn't realize that they had a more extensive role.
So like I said, it just depends on the Fisher House and depending on what the need is within that community. Like, for example, the Fisher House in Tampa, the Tampa VA Fisher House. I thought they were kind of like an addition to a domiciliary and also helping out, like you said, the family members for the veterans and stuff. But to my knowledge, what the staff members over there tell me is that they're primarily used as an aftercare for veterans who are just coming out of an extensive surgery and they need like rehabilitation and like living quarters and stuff like that. That's what they provide.
Right, the living quarters and also for the families of veterans who are going through that, correct?
I guess.
Okay. All
I
right.
guess so. Bob, one thing I wanted to touch on before we go is you asked a very good question. How do we extend this out and reach other veterans in the community and stuff?
You bet.
What is the mission or what is the goal for these meetings that you would like to reach? Like what kind of targeted area, or is it more of like you guys want veterans on here to help educate them on different things? Or I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's funny you're bringing this up right now because I was just prepared to ask the same question. What can we do to make things better? How do we look at things differently? How do we approach people differently? I've been a LinkedIn consultant for umpteen thousand years. I got a staff of people that work for me. And so social media, quote unquote, is really a very focal point. And it's changing very rapidly now because of artificial intelligence. And I think we have to take a wider look at this stuff. But the key is, what can we do to make things better for veterans? What is it we can do? And that
Okay.
sometimes takes out of the box thinking.
So here's how I might be able to help on my end. So I helped start an initiative in the Hillsborough and Pinellas County areas in Florida. Olga probably knows these areas. We started a coalition called the Zero Suicide Prevention for Pinellas and Hillsborough. And to my understanding, when myself, Dr. Bond, and Colonel Custon created this, it was to help spread awareness of, you know, the veteran suicide rate within our communities and how can we combat it. It slowly turned into just a big networking event for different providers, and it like exploded, which was good because we got a lot of different providers within the communities that do different things. From like helping veterans who need you know, senior living, to HUD-VASH caseworkers, to people in the VA for suicide prevention departments. I mean, a whole plethora of different providers and physicians would come to these networking events.
Right.
It kind of just stopped at that as just meet and greets. Where I'm much more of like a boots on the ground. Like we can talk about these problems till we're blue in the face, but like, what are we actually doing to make a difference? So I'm more than happy to send this link out to those individuals and we can kind of help expand our network that way. And have different providers and different outputs come in. But that also leads to my question, like, what is the goal in here? Are we trying to help educate veterans on what services they can apply for? Are we trying to reach veterans who are in despair and they don't know, you know, who to turn to, what's out there for them? Like, maybe we're here to help veterans navigate the VA and say like, oh, if you're looking for this is the department you want to go to, or this, that, and the other.
Hey, I'm game.
I was gonna say all the, knowing Bob, it's all the above.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know, it's what I always talk about is out of the box thinking. What is it that we can do as individuals to improve the quality of what we're doing. So
Right.
you have specific job that you do perform. How do we get the word out? Are you on LinkedIn, by the way?
I am.
Yes.
Yeah,
He was
yes,
he was
sir.
kind enough to
I
accept me
have
last
you
week.
as a contact. You added me on the last meeting.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He
I,
accepted me.
I know you guys are having next week, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys have Colonel VJ Reyes coming on here. He's a good friend of mine. He works as a VTC mentor for the veteran treatment courts in Hillsborough. He's also a consultant for another treatment center. I mean, we're talking about a guy here who has a lot of pull in different areas. And I think he would also be great to have on here continuously. He would be great to, you know, try and if we need I guess to reach certain individuals and stuff. Like for me myself, I only know a handful of congressmen and congresswomen, like Congresswoman Kathy Castor, Congressman Bill Ruckus. Corey Mills is actually Congressman Corey Mills is a great friend of mine. He's from Winter Haven and he's a ranger. He's all for helping out the veterans as well. So, but if you want to expand and I guess reach different congressmen and senator or different individuals in different areas, like I mean that's something we can also tackle as well and see
May,
if
may I make a suggestion? You, Sam, I'm gonna make the same suggestion I'm gonna say to Patrick. But again, I'm looking for other things as well from him as it relates to what Bob gets back to me on. Is it possible for you to have the meeting available and notified to those who are in your facility and other facilities of yours around the country, so that people who have the time between Eastern time 1 and 2, I realize different parts of the country, different times, can go to a room and participate with others from the same facility to be part of the meeting.
so were you looking for staff members or veteran clients?
If you ask Bob, he'll say everything, but I'm just saying to you, that's something you can feel.
Veterans.
It could be whatever. Maybe staff members are taking a lunch break and they're having lunch while they're watching the meeting. It could be patients who are there who are not in between sessions or whatever, who may want to attend. And it may not be the same people each week.
So
I
me personally, I would love to get my veteran clients on here. The only
Mhm.
issue with that is the facility and my higher ups would probably look at it as a breach of HIPAA.
HIPAA.
Yeah, they would have to
that
sign.
would be their choice though, because what could happen is if you have audio cut off and video cut off, we won't see them. So that eliminates the HIPAA.
True,
It would show your facility.
I could possibly swing it that way. But once again, we would have to have like a topic, an agenda to kind of discuss for them and see
Fine.
like, for example, like I run an alumni group online meeting for my vets and it ranges, like there won't be that many. Sometimes there's maybe anywhere between 6 to 12 individuals. But it's more of just it's tied towards like us as veterans in recovery and how can we help, like it's basically a platform for us to kind of get together and help each other out and hold each other accountable in different ways, whether it's recovery based, whether it's I have a veteran who's getting pushback from the VA and we'll tell them different ways to kind of go about getting the things that they need. So like once again that kind of leads me to like what is it we're trying to push, what agenda are we trying to go after, so I can kind of pass it along to the proper individual channels. You know what I mean?
Well, here's one of the things that I always talk about. It's we need to dip our toes in the water, take the temperature and figure out where we go. Because we're not going to come up with the answers ahead of time. We come up with ideas ahead of time. And then we have to execute on those ideas. And unless we do that, we're not really going to have any kind of specific direction. But by acting, it'll take us to another level.
Right.
But you have to have some direction. We can't
Bingo.
pull it out of the air. It's like,
Well, if you
we
want
need to, how do we, first of all, how do we know where we're going and when will we know that we've arrived if we don't have direction?
Well, you know what? Let me tell you this. I've been in marketing forever and ever and ever. But unless I take steps, I don't really know where the direction is.
Mhm.
So where
I
let's
understand that.
come up with just a couple ideas. Sam, you brought up some interesting ideas. What would you like to see where we could execute?
Okay, so for me personally, I look at this as a good opportunity for us to, at least in the beginning, and especially since we're all kind of spread out throughout the country, providing different, giving us a platform for having different providers and different professions to come in who are all veterans and say, hey, this is what I do in this sector of the world. This is what I do over here. And at least if we're kind of dipping our toes in it, we can kind of see how, um, how and what veterans need in different areas of the world. And it at least gives us, like, to my knowledge, like this was like a referral kind of meeting here. So it gives us a good platform for, hey, if I have a veteran here in Florida, Bob, you're all the way out there in California. And I got a veteran in California who needs help, but I don't know that area too well. Can I rely on you to, or can I pass along your number to him and you can kind of help guide him in that direction over there? And at least for the beginning, if we're at least trying stuff out, I would say we can start out by spreading this meeting out to different providers within our community who
Right.
all have the same focus, which is helping veterans, right? So I can pass it along to different nonprofits, different for-profit organizations, like who, anybody and everybody within the veteran community, and see what all the input is, and at least giving us a good platform for us to come together, and then we can kind of determine which way the direction will go from there. But
I think that's a good start, but you got to start somewhere.
right.
That's always the key.
So what I'll start doing on my end is I'll copy the link for this meeting and I'll send it out to all my contacts out here in Florida who are in this realm, and not necessarily just the treatment realm, but in the realm of helping out veterans for whatever it is they need. And at least we can kind of start expanding the meeting that way. But just so they don't lose interest, like, and that's where I was kind of like, okay, we need a topic to kind of discuss and how we're gonna
Mhm,
help them
mhm.
out. I don't want them to come on here and be like, okay, well, I just, came on here for an hour and didn't really have anything to say or do.
Well, I think that's all very interesting. And I think one of the keys to this whole thing is that, again, it's back to the same old statement. You've got to start by doing something. So do a reach out, either it 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 creates something, or we go back and we reinvent the wheel.
Right.
But unless we do that, we're not going to really have any kind of ideas.
All right, so what's next week's topic? You have Dr. Reyes. What is Dr. Reyes going to talk about?
No idea.
Knowing you're talking about DJ Reyes, so knowing Colonel Reyes, he's probably going to speak on the legislation he's trying to pull at Congress to help veterans and their rights. He's probably going to talk about Riverside Recovery, where he works at, and he's probably going to talk about the veteran treatment courts. So he's probably, knowing him, he's probably going to say like what it is he does and how he helps the community out over there.
Could we reach out to him? And is he a doctor or is he just a colonel?
No, he's just a colonel. He's not a doctor.
Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put it in those terms.
No, he's a colonel. He's
You
but
can tell you can tell she's apologetic because she didn't give you the boo-hoo response.
Wait, is Air Force too?
No, he's not. He's
Okay.
he's Army. So you guys would probably get along real well.
Go Army.
No,
Okay.
yeah, with having him on there, and I'll come in, I'll also, join next week at 1 as well. And maybe him and I can kind of talk on the side beforehand and be like, hey, this is what we talked about last week. This is what we're going to try and do. I'll spread the link out to a lot of people between now and next week. And at least if we have the meeting starting to grow, we'll kind of, I guess if they're like, well, hey, what's the point of this? We could say, hey, we're providers from different areas of the country, and this can be used as a platform so we can streamline different referrals to whoever needs it or whatever the case is.
Sam, let me
Yeah,
give you the other positive. I'm going to speak for Bob, even though he's right there, is once this gets going, there can always be offshoots. So
That's
that,
right.
so the
Mhm.
veterans group, I knew I could get away with that with you. And that's meant as a positive, but once this gets going, maybe we do have a need for specialized, and then we can have a group that specializes in one area, meaning a different time. And this can become more general based and go from there. So I don't
Yeah,
want you,
no.
it's hopeless. And I know where you're going with it and I understand it, but in the beginning, you need to draw a nucleus before you can spread out. And
Exactly. No. And that was my mindset. Like, okay, let's use the referral process as the nucleus. And then when people come from different areas, you'll start seeing, okay, this group specializes in navigating the VA. This group specializes in helping veterans out with medical needs. This group helps with, so on and so forth. And but at least having, as you stated, like a nucleus in the beginning will help us kind of be like, okay, this is the purpose of having these.
Agreed.
Does that make any sense? I'm not trying to beat a dead horse or anything like
No, no,
that.
no,
No,
no. Spot
and
on.
then maybe like one week out of the month, we can have a non-program, just an open forum.
Right.
Especially give those new people that like me, I kind of like, I got the invite, or I clicked on it and then I showed up. I had no idea what I was getting into. I'm glad I did. But and people can say, hey, this is what we do here. We want to learn more about you, want you to, welcome to the family,
Mhm.
and then have them start telling their story. And the more we learn about where each of us are coming from, we begin to increase our bandwidth as to what we can talk about, what help we can provide, what services are available, and speak from either experience or because you're working in the field.
And I'm also
Right.
hoping that what you do and what some of the people at the VA hospital do can also help what Dennis does with his organization in terms of reliving the heroism and the activity of people who served our country and died in the process of their service.
No,
Yes.
absolutely. And I think a good way to kind of breach the VA and bring in VA officials is to kind of go about it the way that I did, which is like reaching out to the peer support specialist for the VA and then letting them know like, hey, this is what we do. Can we have so and so from this department come on or whatever the case may be. And like Bob, you can probably attest to this, like working in marketing, but like everybody wants to join a platform where they can kind of like tell their spiel about what company they're representing and stuff. So maybe one way we can start growing this is like every week have a certain a different company or organization or nonprofit come on and say like, hey, you have the floor for 30 minutes. Tell us about what you do.
Yeah.
This gives you an open forum to kind of market and advertise what it is you guys do. And then here are the other individuals that kind of do the same thing as you. And how can we kind of work
The
together?
other thing I'm thinking is that so many people that get out of the military still have to go earn a living.
Mhm.
Right.
So what is it that we can do to help them generate
I
more
may, I may have information. I belong to a group, another organization that I'm not, that has curtailed most of their activity. And they really screwed things up. I dropped out earlier, but they had a group with veterans that used to attend. It was actually 12 o'clock on Wednesdays. And I can go back to my old list eventually and look and see people who are involved with resume writing and things like that to help veterans reacclimate, into this world as so forth. I can actually speak, although people can use VA, but how they can take advantage of using their VA time. And it's the same kind of work that they're doing after after VA that they were doing in the VA, it can actually count that as years of experience towards mortgage qualification. Which may be of interest, again, going with the VA
Mhm.
loans. I don't want you to think I'm trying to take anybody, except for you, Bob. I'm not trying to take anybody away from the VA mortgage, but you missed that, Olga, I'm sorry. But the point is, it's something they not even realize that the fact that they did, if they were doing auto mechanic repair on vehicles while they're in the service, and now they're working at a mechanic, at a auto mechanic shop, their VA time will count towards their years of service, years in career for mortgage qualification. So there are things like that that can also be helpful.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's all very interesting. I think, look, I think we're grabbing something that at least gives us some action. And I think if we do something that is action oriented, then we're a lot better off than just talking about it. Let's go do it, figure out what's working and what's not working, make the changes accordingly. Sound
Agreed.
good?
Agreed.
I hate to bring this up because I know, Sam, you need to go and so do I.
Yeah.
But how, the best way to start looking and maybe sorting through maybe what our direction can be for the rest of the year. Have you ever done a little survey? See, I hate to use the word survey, but how we need to get input from the potential customers out there, potential members. Otherwise, we can come up with a program that probably will touch, certain veterans, but wouldn't it be nice if we got some input? And that's easy to do little surveys, Survey Monkey for one. Google Form, you can do a survey that captures, you get all your results, all your clicks, go into an Excel form, and then, it's a no-brainer actually using that. But I think, we need to try to send out some type of query to get input as to right now, for those individuals that answer, what interests do they have? What
Mhm.
needs do they have? And then we we cannot create Rome in a day. Start addressing those that, percolate to the top, those topics that percolate to the top. Finances is one, housing is one, employment is one, changing jobs, coming out, transitioning. Even though the VA and the military says that they have that, and then
It's a
no
joke.
one ever talked to me about transitioning into civilian world. They probably said, "Oh, she has a nurse, she has her master's, blah 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 blah. She can work anywhere." No, it's a different mentality. I spent all these years in the military, and now I gotta go and deal with those uppity civilians. You know what I mean?
Unless you end up in a VA hospital.
I didn't.
I know, I'm just saying, if you did,
Right,
then
right. No,
That
no,
TAPS
yeah,
program is just a joke in the military. I mean, it was
I know.
2 weeks of just goofing off and nobody answered your questions. I was always told that was one of my biggest issues, and I love the idea about the survey as well. One of my biggest issues was getting out. Everybody kept saying, "Well, didn't they teach you anything in TAPS?" And I was like, "No, for 2 weeks straight, they just hammered on resume building. And if you have any questions, go to the VA. They didn't tell you what is in the VA and what services and benefits you can apply for and how to go about it or anything like that, So I have a lot of different contacts that I think would be great to join this, especially a lot of nonprofits who are trying to go out there and who do stuff pro bono for helping veterans. So I think that would be good to at least kind of get the ball rolling and say, hey, these are the things that we can help our population out with, if they need it.
And I'll start, talking to some of my contacts, some of my fellow colleagues from the military. Can
Well,
think of
again,
one. It's
and Bob,
mouthy.
I'll wait for you to speak to your daughter and then see what I can do as it relates to my contact over at the Philadelphia VA. Because that, depending, again, I know HIPAA is an issue, so I worked in the medical office long enough to be well aware of that. By the same token, you have a plethora of people who are either veterans who work there or veterans who are patients there.
Mhm.
And if they're exposed to it, they may decide on their own to start attending, and that may be the difference. They could be silent, when I say silent, not seen in the beginning until they choose to be more involved on their own. Same thing with, by the way, the other area we could look at is veteran homes.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a ripe area as well.
But I think that, the HIPAA thing may be, we'll see if we can get around that.
Well, that's
I'll
why I
try
said
and
if they're
navigate
not,
those.
if
It's
they're
a
not
barrier.
seen, if they're
It's
not
a
seen on
barrier.
video.
I can tell you right off the bat, it's a
No,
barrier.
again,
but
I know, but if they're not seen on video and they're not seen on audio, then that gets around the HIPAA because then it would show it would show on the screen as the veteran center or whatever, as opposed to the individual name. And that gets around the HIPAA. So that way they don't have to be part of it. We don't know how many people are there watching it, but they may be able to find us through osmosis to start coming on their own, independent of
Mhm.
the group. So no, I
Okay.
fully, I have that in my head all the time because working at, I worked at an oncology office. So,
Well, I actually think we're dipping our toe in the water, so that's a good.
okay. I'm gonna say goodbye because I have to get ready to,
Yeah, me too.
Well, we
I
have
could-
to say goodbye. Yeah.
Yes,
I-
I have to leave
Nice
as well.
meeting you, Sam. Good to see you guys.
I have
Thank
some,
you,
I have,
Olga.
I have seniors I have to entertain real soon, so.
Beautiful. Well, I'll see you guys on here next week, okay?
Sam,
All
I'll be
right.
I hope to be in touch with you before that, and thank you for including your number. Appreciate
And
it.
I'll send you an email, Sam.
Please, I look forward to it.
Yeah,
All right,
and make
you guys
sure,
enjoy the rest of your day and have a great weekend,
and
okay?
make sure you include the fact you're the only real
right.
service, the only real branch of the service, so he'll know who you are.
Hey, that's right. That's right. I gotta represent
He'll
it.
see that and he'll put delete. I know those Air Force dudes.
Buddy. All right, all.
Take care,
All right.
guys.
Later. Thanks
Bye-bye.
for tonight, today.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye all.